For those who do not know me, I am Amalavita's client success and event specialist, also a health coach here. So just a few quick housekeeping rules, which I'm sure everyone is very familiar with Zoom these days. Just keep yourself, everyone's automatically muted, but just keep yourself on mute. We have the chat box. So if you guys have any questions at all throughout the presentation, just type them right in there. I'm monitoring that. And so I'll pull those questions and we will we'll ask John and Brooke them at the end. But also too, if you have any comments or just anything, it doesn't have to be questions. We fully want everyone to be, we fully accept and we want everyone to engage as much as possible, you know, and just get to meet people. I think it's always fun to connect with people, even if it is in a little white chat box.
I agree. I love it. I love seeing the connections. I hope that for everybody that's on this webinar, that it's not the last time we chat. I hope I see everybody on LinkedIn or in our email inboxes, because I love these as just ways to connect.
Yeah. And also too, well, we can include, if you might have missed in the Eventbrite email, there was links to John and Brooke's profiles, but we can also include those in the follow-up as well. If you guys want to connect on LinkedIn, it's a really great space. We share so many resources, articles, blogs, blurbs. Also too, we share information about our future events. So definitely it's a great place to stay connected with everyone. All right. Should we go ahead and get started?
Absolutely.
Awesome. All right. Well, welcome again, everyone. We're really excited for you to be here. This is probably one of my favorite topics to talk about because I think it's an important one, you know, just to understand the benefits of coaching. You know, I think that there's also that, you know, between coaching and counseling and therapy and all these different things, you know, they kind of can blend into one. So we have our professional specialists here, John and Brooke, to help us guide through that. And also too, just really quick for more people coming in, if you have any questions or comments or whatever it is, please put them in the chat box. I'll be checking that throughout the entire presentation. And then we'll also have time at the end for some Q&A with our lovely coaches here. So for those who are not familiar, we are Amalavita. We are a career, leadership, life, and health coaching services, and we help people to understand what they want in life. We help them love their life, and that is through career coaching, through leadership, also too through life and health. We do have our career specialists today, Coach Brooke and Coach John. They are fantastic. And so with Amalavita, we really are, it's in our title. We help people love their lives. And, you know, there's a lot, especially now with so many different things going on. You know, coaching is really an important part of helping to keep us accountable, to help us keep moving forward, to help us create those actionable steps. Because speaking personally, that accountability and those action steps really help to create that confidence. And that's what we really, really get from a coaching relationship. So enough of me talking. I'll hand it over to our coaches and we can take it away. Great picture, John.
I love it. I love it. This is, I love it because you can see that I'm barely restraining cracking up laughing at this picture.
You're wearing
I'm
the
John.
same shirt now.
I'm wearing, no, I actually just only own one kind of shirt. I just have like a closet full of just black polos. This is, I believe in efficiency. I'm the Director of Career Services here at Amalavita. I have a long and varied background, but most of it revolved around being in the hiring services in some way. So I've been a third-party recruiter, I've been a hiring manager, I've been director of recruitment. So I have been inside that terrible machine for over a decade. There's so many horrible things in there. As bad as you think it is, it's worse. And I got out of that world to try and help bring some of its secrets to the people that really needed it. So that's what I really enjoy doing, is helping people navigate that horrible labyrinth that unfortunately I helped build. So I love doing that. That's what I do here at Amalavita now. So I love really getting into the tactical stuff. More about my background you can find later. I don't want to take too much time on it, but just so you know a little bit more about me, who will be talking to you here.
Awesome. Hi, guys. So nice to meet you. My name is Brooke, and I am a career transition coach and do a little bit of life coaching, resume writing, all of that good stuff as well. And so a little bit of my background, I actually was in, I didn't know what I wanted to do. And so I fell into healthcare consulting. I had a couple connections at this small firm and I ended up staying there for about 5 years. And while it was a great company culture and, there was a decent amount of flexibility in it, I hated going to work every day. I dreaded it every single morning. I was always ready to leave. And that just wasn't how I wanted to live my life. I wanted to be excited about what I was doing. I wanted to feel like I was making a difference. And so as I was searching for that, I came across career transition coaching. Like I want to help people who were in my exact same position. Like I don't know what to do and I don't know what's next and I need help. And so that's what has led me here. So again, like John, you can find more about me on our page or LinkedIn, or shoot me an email, friend me on LinkedIn, any of that. Like I am an open book and I'm really excited to work with you guys in whatever way I can. So yeah, I'm excited for our presentation. So our agenda today, it's going to be pretty straightforward. So things to be ready for when it comes to coaching. We're going to go through what coaching is and what coaching isn't. We just want to make sure you have a really clear view of what to expect from coaching. And then expectations, what do you need to come prepared to do? And then also we're expected to do things as well. This is not a one-way street. And so expectations for you, expectations for us as your coach, some success stories. John has a ton of those, so I'm excited to hear those. And then Q&A. So whatever you guys write in the chat or just whatever questions you guys have, you're here to answer them. So for coach, and John, just please hop in whenever I miss something.
You don't ever miss anything. I would, if that was the case, I would never hop in.
True. Hop in anyways. So things to be ready for when it comes to coaching. We're going to challenge you. We're going to challenge your limiting beliefs, your preconceived notions, challenge the way that maybe you just typically view the world, There's going to be accountability. We want to hold you accountable to the things that you say you're going to do. There's going to be honesty, like we are going to be honest with, in all of our conversations. And we also want that honesty from you, what works well for you, what doesn't work well for you. We do really deep listening. We listen not to respond, but we listen to really hear you and like be able to dig down deep. Like, what do you really mean when you're saying that? And then ultimately the focus is on you, right? Like these sessions are for you. The focus is on you. The benefit is for you, like that's why we're here. It's to support you in whatever way we can do that. And also be ready to put in the work. It's not just like a one and done, we check mark, we talked for the day or the week, the month, but it is that continual work. So yeah.
And to put some of that into perspective for what it looks like, what some of those conversations have, especially on notes like honesty. Our spectrum goes from honesty to brutal honesty, depending on where you need to be in that range. But we ask questions that no one else will ask you. We challenge things. So much of conversation in just your regular day-to-day life is this sort of go along to get along conversation. If you're sitting to dinner with a friend and you say, boy, my boss is a real jerk. What do? They lift up their glass, they say, yeah, I hear you. And that's it. You kind of continue. We are going to pull that apart. So you say, my boss is a real jerk. I have 10 follow-up questions. Well, what do they do specifically? Why do you think they're a jerk? Does someone else do that and they're not a jerk? What could you have done differently in that situation? How do you want that to play out differently in the future? Tell me. We're going to dive in so deep. That's the challenging. After conversations with us, I want you to feel exhausted. I want you to feel like, I can't believe they're asking me all these things. But we pick apart everything, good and bad, because the point is that you've come into one end of our system with a certain set of beliefs and actions and habits that have gotten you where you are. And if you leave with everything exactly the same, habits, beliefs, actions, you're not going to go to a different place. So we have to put those things through the ringer. We have to challenge those things and change them around. And we're not going to tell you how the puzzle pieces have to fit together. That's you, but we're going to be the ones that cut them up.
Awesome. Thank you, John. I do love that. Like, we're going to be the ones to cut them up, but you get to put them together however you want to, and we're going to help you piece those puzzles together, like however you want to see the picture. I like that a lot.
I love that you call this Johnnyisms.
Let's go.
I love that you call these Johnnyisms. I have, for anybody that knows me, I love analogies. I love using these kind of things to explain things. So these are some analogies that I've used to explain the coaching relationship. One is, we're the flashlight, we're not the boots. So we're not hiking, we're helping show a path. We're not, I've had people ask questions like, do you send my resume to employers? No, because we're not a recruiter or a staffing firm. You know, do you go in and post for me on LinkedIn? No, absolutely not. I wouldn't even know how to be your voice. We're the flashlight. We're not the boots. We're not doing the hiking for you. I like this second one a lot about, we're the pit stops in the NASCAR race. We're not going to live your life with you. As awesome as it would be, Brooke and I are not going to move in with you. We're not going to handcuff ourselves to you and follow you around your day-to-day life. We're not going to be on every Zoom call. The percentage of your day-to-day time you spend with us is going to be very little, because you might have an appointment once a week, once a month, 2 times a month. So the whole rest of that time, you have to be working. You have to be out there really putting in work to do these things. It's sort of like if you went to a personal trainer a half an hour a week, and during that half an hour a week, you worked out really hard, but the whole rest of the week, you don't change your diet, you don't change your exercise. Are you really going to see any major changes to your health from just that half an hour a week, no matter how intensely you work? No, of course not. We're going to help you change the tires, refuel the tank, get everything running well, but you got to race. And this other analogy about us being the lawyer, not the plumber. Both plumbers and lawyers are knowledge workers. They are experts. They know something. But a plumber does the job for you. When you bring a plumber into your home, you point to your sink, you say it's leaking, you say fix it, they give you a bill. That's not what we do. A lawyer helps you. They help you craft a legal defense, but you still have to be the one that sits in the witness box and gives your defense. They help give you that legal advice, but ultimately all the decisions rest on you. A lawyer doesn't go to trial for you while you sit at home. That's not how it works. A lawyer is your partner that helps you craft those things. They don't do the work for you. So I feel like that's a really good analogy for the role that we play in your journey, whether it's career, leadership, health, whatever it is. You know, we can't do that stuff for you. We bring a huge range of expertise and knowledge that you might not have, but I'm not turning a wrench for you. Does that, right. do I hit those, Brooke? Do you think like that's those paint a clear picture? Sometimes my analogies can get a little weird, the Johnnyism. So I want to make sure
the analogies, clear. You know, that's why I put them all in here. But I think the one that really does stick out to me the most is like, we're the flashlight. Like we open your eyes up to maybe nothing you've ever seen before, or we uncover so many things. And so it's like we can really help like you shine for, gosh, that sounds so cheesy, but really
I love it.
We illuminate the path that you want to go down. You know, like you're the one holding the flashlight. You can pick whatever direction, but we're gonna illuminate whatever path you want to take. You know, we're gonna help you like go around blocks. You know, we're gonna help you take the most direct path that you want to take. But at the end of the day, like you're the one holding the flashlight, you point the direction, and you're the one like walking through the dark forest. So I think that one's my favorite.
Love it. I love it.
Okay, so what coaching is? Coaching, it is supporting a client in specific settings for whatever goals you want to accomplish. And then we're gonna hold you accountable. We're gonna challenge those preconceived notions, those beliefs to help you achieve those goals. We're gonna empower you to arrive at your own solution. So again, these sessions are for you. We're not gonna tell you what to do. Really, you are the driver, and we're going to help you get there, you know. We're going to help you even identify where you are, where you want to go, and how do you get there. I think that's why I love that flashlight analogy. You know, we get to light the path that like you want to take. And then we're going to help you identify problems, clarify those problems, and guide you to come up with your own solutions. We're going to partner with you in that. And then we're also going to be focusing on behavioral changes, mental reframing, helping individuals perform at your peak. You know, so like what Johnny was talking about, like, oh man, my boss sucks. Okay, yeah, but like, how do you want to show up? You know, how are you going to be proud of yourself moving forward? Okay, like, what do you need to get there? So it's making sure that like you can control only the things that you can control, right? And so helping you really perform at your best, regardless of the situation that you're in.
And that first and last bullet point together, I think are so important, because if you do say, hey, my boss sucks, I'm not going to tell you what to do about that. That'd be bad coaching to say, well, here's what you should do. You should quit your job. You know, that's bad coaching. What we do is we're going to ask 10 follow-up questions. My boss sucks. Do you want a better boss? Let's explore, why do you keep ending up with bad bosses? Have you hated your last 5 bosses? What's the pattern? Why do you keep ending up with bosses that you hate? We're not quick fixing. So that last bullet point, focusing on true behavioral changes. Not everything, and it's not about blame, by the way, because things aren't necessarily your fault, but even if they're not your fault, they might be your responsibility. I heard a really great analogy one time. Someone said, if a tornado blows a bunch of trash and trees and furniture around your yard, that's not your fault, but it's still your responsibility. You still have to be the one that cleans it up, even if it was not your fault that it happened. So we focus on that, on helping you take control of it, and don't be somebody who things happen to, but somebody who makes things happen.
Right. It's not your fault, but it is your responsibility. Like, that is very powerful. I don't think I've heard that sentence before. I'm going to continue to use that for sure. And so things that coaching is not. Okay, so it is not mentorship. So we haven't been wherever you want to go, you know, so we can give you the steps to take. We can help you figure out how you want to best get there, or what research what do you need to know in order to move forward? We're going to pull those things out of you. It is not therapy. So we're not therapists, you know, we're not licensed for therapy. We are much more focused on forward focused, and like, how do you want to really show up? So I view therapy is looking at the past and making someone really more functional, and coaching is more looking at the future and making you optimal. We're not your friends, you know, like, golly, that sounds so blunt when you say it like that, but we're not going to be sitting at the bar with you, you know, groaning on and on about how our bosses suck. And yeah, that's really hard, you know, but like, what are you going to do? And like, order another round. We're not going to do that. Like, we are going to challenge you. And we're also like, not your family. So friends, family, it's in a similar vein, but I do think like family, it also has that underlying pressure of like wanting to please your family as well. And like, at the end of the day, it's your life. You know, you can take whatever direction you want to take, and we're going to help get you there. And then we're not your managers either. So like, we will hold you accountable. We're going to challenge you, but we are not your managers. And so I don't know, Johnny, if you had anything to add, but our next slide has a really great chart as well.
You can go into that chart, and I'll mention one of the best things about what we're not on that list is that something that kind of isn't available to any of those that you do have available in coaching is your ability to push back and your ability to challenge. When you go to somebody for mentorship advice and they give you advice and then you don't want to do it, or you don't think it works for you, you almost come across as ungrateful, right? You come across like you don't respect the mentor because you're pushing back. But the relationship that we have is one of mutual pushback. I'm going to push you all the time. I'm going to challenge a ton of the stuff you say. So I love it when a client says back to me, hey, I want to push back on that thing because I don't think that thing works for me. You know, I say, if I ask, what's the fastest way for me to get to San Francisco? And someone says, oh, an F-14 fighter jet. Well, that's bad advice, because that might be technically true, but that doesn't help me because I don't know how to fly an F-14 fighter jet. So it's not good advice for me. Good advice for me is board a passenger plane because that's what I know how to do. So I want a client that can push back on that. And in many ways, you can't do that with a manager or a mentor or sometimes even family and friends,
Right.
because you're worried about maintaining another relationship or you're worried about maintaining a friendship. But with us, that is the relationship. The relationship is the grinding of ideas and the grinding of mental habits. So it's exactly the space where you want to bring that to the table. And that's a big benefit.
Yeah, absolutely. And I can go through this chart if you like. I just think it shows so much the difference in commonly, I guess like commonly compared to coaching, like those occupations. And
Oh,
so I can read them if it's hard for people to read. I'm happy to do that.
I don't think we need to go through each one. I think in the general themes there are we covered and went over. And by the way, the recording for this is always sent out afterwards. So anybody that is on this call, or even people that registered and then for whatever scheduling reason couldn't make it, we always have these available. So you will be able to take a look at that. But I think the core concept there that our relationship is one focused on action steps into the future, but
Yes,
you're the one that chooses what the goal is. So we might help be that flashlight, but we illuminate the path you want to go down. But we don't tell you which direction to point it.
exactly. Thank you. You just saved everyone about like 5-10 minutes of their day.
More
Okay.
time for Q&A.
True. So some expectations for you guys, the clients, show up ready, and show up ready to do the work. We cannot and we will not do the work for you, like that's on you. If you want changes in your life, you got to be the one to like strap on the boots and get to work. So, yeah, and then be open to thinking about things differently. We're gonna challenge you. We're gonna challenge those core beliefs that you hold true to. And so just make sure that you come in with an open mind as well, and that you are ready to make the change. And I do love what like Johnny said, that you can push back, be open to thinking about things differently. But if you meditate on it, you think about it, you process it, and you're like, no, actually, I think this way is true. Great. Let us know, but just be open to even the thought process changing.
Right. We're going to challenge, I'm going to challenge personally 100% of what you say, but clearly 100% of what you say isn't already wrong or not working. But I'm going to challenge all of it universally. And one of the reasons I do that, by the way, one of the reasons I challenge everything so thoroughly and universally is so that you don't think I'm picking out things that I disagree with. I'm challenging everything. You could say something and in my head, I think, that's brilliant. That's the best thing I've ever heard. That's a great strategy. I'm still going to pull it apart because I want you to maybe understand why it's good strategy. What are the elements of that strategy we can apply to other aspects of your life that it's not being applied to right now? How do you teach this skill to others? How do you develop it further? All of those things can come from challenging even helpful, healthy beliefs. So no matter what you come to the table with, we're going to examine everything under a microscope. So be prepared for that when you come. Don't come with these walls built up saying, I want validation. Like, I want to believe that everything I'm doing is correct, and I want someone to validate me and say, everything you're doing is already correct. It's the world that's wrong. It's everybody else that is doing things incorrectly. You have to come prepared to change something, because if you change nothing, you don't go anywhere else. Whatever steps in your life got you to where you are now cannot be the steps that will get you somewhere else. Something must change. And in many cases, that means giving up something that we emotionally resonate with. There are unhealthy habits that we have that we love, things that we don't even realize that we love, but we love. We get addicted to certain behaviors or certain modes of thought, and we don't want to give them up. They're comforting to us. But to make changes, sometimes we have to give up something that is comfortable to us. We have to shed that. And that's the challenging conversation that we're going to have, is we're going to hold that mirror up and help identify which of those things are weights.
Awesome. So some expectations that you guys can have for us, your coach. We show up too, we put in the work too. So that in our sessions, we come just really focused on you. So we do show up. We do provide accountability for the things that you say you want to do. So if, we're going to follow up. If you did the thing that you said you want to do, great. Like what's the next step? But if you don't, we're going to talk about it, like why not? Like, why did you not? What got on your way this week? Is this still important for you? Is this still a goal that you want to continue on working with? So we do provide accountability in that way. Again, like we're going to challenge those limiting beliefs, those preconceived notions that you have, things that maybe like you've never even thought about why you think this way. Maybe your family told you or society told you, and you just kind of go along without even thinking about it, really truly believing it. So we're going to challenge those. We offer clarity for when the waters get muddy. We're going to find those common themes that are in your life, and just really pull out and clarify for you so that you can see a lot clearer. So then you feel more educated, feel more ready and prepared to take that next step. And then we're going to support you and help you develop action plans. And then that goes back into that accountability piece where we're going to hold you accountable to those action plans. So yeah, those are expectations that you can hold from us.
That's what we're good at, is making decisions, sticking to them, helping you stick to them. The success stories page. I absolutely love other people's successes. I mean, that's what gets me up in the morning, is I really love cheering for other people. I'm a father. I hope you can see this is not my art on the wall behind me. I'm much worse than this. But I loved it even before having kids. I mean, I love seeing other people succeed. I'm definitely that dad cheering at the sidelines of sports games. So I love seeing these success stories, but I love them because I chose these ones in particular because they were really good examples of the outside of the box thinking, the accountability, everything that comes with the coaching relationship. So I had Randall had such shattered confidence when he came to me. He had been fired. He had a really hostile relationship with his boss. And he was honest with me. He said it was not a layoff. It was not a reduction in force. I mean, my boss fired me. We were butting heads constantly. He didn't think my work was valuable. And he'd really gotten that under his skin. He felt that his boss was right, and he had that underneath of him. We had to do a lot of confidence building. And when I do confidence building, it's not hype. I'm not sitting there for a half an hour on the phone going, you're great, rah, rah. We're going to go through. I had him go back through resume. I asked him questions like I was an interviewer interviewing him for a role. I elicited stories out from previous roles he'd had. I had him defend even his failures at the role where he was fired from. All of those things to rebuild that confidence. And when he sent me that email that said, finally the negotiation process was done, the role of my dreams, he negotiated a huge bump in salary. When I got that email, I mean, I did that, right? I was just so excited for it. And so that's kind of a classic one. But the next one, my client, Andrew, he quit the rat race. I mean, that's what he needed coaching for. He had so defined himself by this job that he hated. He had defined himself by 23, 24 years in an industry that crushed his spirit and killed his free time and dragged him away from his projects. And he wasn't there for the things he wanted to do and his family. But he had been wrapped up in this identity of, you've got to do that. That's just what it is to be an adult in America, right? And there's no way to do anything else. You're a loser if you do anything else. And he had so much of that being able to define a different pathway for him that was successful and then do it and then make all these things a reality was phenomenal. And now he's got his own podcast and his own media company and just all these things. And it's so exciting. Rachel, we talked about diversion. So Rachel was someone who was following a path that was laid out for her. She was coasting. She was actually kind of reasonably successful, but really stressed, really didn't like her environment, because everything was her getting dragged forward, her getting pulled along. This was now her taking control and saying, no, I'm going to go to this company that I want to work for. I don't care that they're not looking for anybody. I'm going to write what I want to do, pitch it to them, and they rubber stamped it. They said, we love this. We love everything about it. We love you. We love the pitch. You're in. She literally wrote her own salary on this piece of paper and said, here's what you're going to hire me for. And they got it. And we had to build that. We built that together. we did research together. We developed the pitch together. I had her pitch me. I gave her feedback. I gave her brutal feedback about aspects of her pitch that I said would definitely not have landed with me. And then she got it. Rita, we turned around her entire job search strategy. She went from, I mean, how many of you have ever had 3 hours go by, you're grinding through Indeed or LinkedIn or something, and you're hitting that apply now button, and it's soul crushing and your eyes want to bleed out of your head, and it's just awful. It's the worst way to spend an afternoon ever. She turned all that around. And when I got the email from her that said, it's the best problem in the world to have, she goes, I have 3 companies right now that have all given me offers, and in a vacuum, I would take any of the 3. I need to get on the phone with you, and we need to talk through all 3 of these so I can figure out which one to take. So, boy, what a great problem to have. Like, I'm so excited to help with that issue. And these were people fighting. She didn't apply to any of those jobs. She created a campaign for herself that attracted that attention. Becca, who it just is near and dear to my heart forever, Becca created a cultural masterpiece. She actually filmed a YouTube video of her performing a cooking video recipe that got shared by the head chef of the company that she wanted to work for on Instagram, became this viral thing within the company. She was so excited about it. And then she went through about 27 rounds of interviews with this company. But they told her on round number 1, they said, there is no question that we are hiring you. They told her that on interview 1. There's no question we are hiring you, but we're going to have you interview with every department in the company so that they can all decide who gets to have you. So, and they created a role for her just to bring her on the team. The reason I illustrate these, or I use these stories as illustrations, is each one of these started from a place of very constrained thinking. All of these stories happened because over the course of our work together, the clients came to understand that they were possible. That has to be the foundational belief. That's the first belief that I'm going to bring concretely to the table is, you might not believe that whatever crazy dream you have is possible. I'm going to start with the base assumption that it is. Because if you start with the base assumption that it is, and that the only question is, how do we find it? How do we find that path through the maze? How do we find that particular piece? You can do anything. That's what we did together. It started with the assumption that these wild things can happen. And so I used these stories as proof to you, for everybody on this call, whatever wild, weird thing you think is impossible, it's not. It is definitely possible. It's definitely there to have. We just have to find that pathway through the woods. I love Brooke's analogy, but you're lost in the dark woods. But just because it's dark and just because it's crowded does not mean there's not a path out of there.
Right.
We're going to find that together.
I love it. Nothing to add. No notes, Okay, and then so some questions to ask yourself before getting started. So do you want a quick fix to something that is broken, or do you want to fundamentally change? So with coaching, we do long-term systemic change. We don't do quick fixes. You're coming here for a reason. We don't want you to change a little and go back. I did that. I was in healthcare consulting for 4 years, and I'm like, great, I'm going to do something else. And then I went back to healthcare consulting, and I was miserable, even more so than before. And it's easy to go back to something that is comfortable, even if you are miserable. But with coaching, we are working on deep, fundamental, systemic change, not a quick fix. Johnny, I'm going to let you take this next question.
And it's so true. If you're calling us because you got fired, but otherwise love your career, that's not, you want a staffing agency. If you want something different, the push and pull reasons, I use this when I describe how you answer interviews, but I think it's good for you as well. If you are leaving a job that you otherwise love because something made you leave, that's a push reason. So I got fired is a push reason, or COVID might be a push reason, or the company shut down is a push reason. A push reason is basically, I wouldn't have left. Something kind of pushed me out of the nest like a mama bird does to a baby bird. But absent that reason, I would definitely not have left. If that's the case, we might not be the people to work with, because you're telling us, I was actually really comfortable. I don't want to make any systemic changes. I liked where I was. And in fact, I really like your help climbing back into the nest. I don't help people back into the nest. So if that's what you're doing, that's not us. Pull reasons are reasons where you know what? Wherever I was fine, but it wasn't enough. There was something else I wanted. I wanted to climb for something greater. I wanted to be happier. I wanted to be more successful, however I define success. I wanted to make a bigger impact. And I know where I want to be. I don't know how to get there, or I don't know what questions to ask to get there. I want to be an astronaut. I don't know the first step, but I know I want to be an astronaut. Great. Yes, give me those. Come to me. Let's do it. Let's make you an astronaut. But that has to be your motivation. You ultimately have to be the source of the motivation for your change. If it's external, you're going to resist it, you're going to fight it, you're going to question it, and it's going to be a lot harder for you to make any real change in your life.
Right. And then the last question, which actually is 3 questions. So what is your commitment level? Is this for you or is it for somebody else? And then are you ready to take control of your outcomes, dedicate the hard work, the time, the energy to accomplishing these goals? So like as your coach, we are happy. We are so happy and we want to walk alongside you and challenge you and hold you accountable and set action steps, set goals. You know, how are you going to get there? How are you going to move forward? How do you want to show up? Like we want to do that. We want to support you. However, at the end of the day, we can't care more than you. You know, we can't put in more effort. Like, this is your decision. It's your path. It's your life, you know. And so just making sure that, like, you know that the ownership is on you. And with us, will you have support every step of the way? Yes, you know. But at the end of the day, you have to be willing to put in the work. You're going to have to be the one to strap on those boots and take the steps.
I love what you just said there, Brooke, about we can't care more than you. I love that because that's so true. You can't show up and I'm so excited about your next step and you're not, because I can't take it for you.
Right. It sounds really harsh, and I think that just proves that like we're not friends or family.
No,
you know?
and it should be harsh. I think that this is one of those things where, and that's why I'm glad we're doing this live and people can really hear that coming from our voices. Sometimes we have to be harsh. Sometimes we have to be harsh in how we set the expectations, because you can't. I would follow up my success stories. I'll actually share a non-success story.
Mm-hmm.
I had a client miserable about their job, hated their job. It was the core of their misery. And that was from them. I mean, words from their mouth on our first session are how much he hated his job, how miserable he was every day, how he would lay awake in the dark in his bed for, an hour before getting up because he was dreading the day so much. Things that were really painful for me to hear. But he was totally unwilling to change his job. Everything else in his life he wanted to change. Totally unwilling to change the job. He felt like he could fix that problem by tweaking something on the outer edges. And it was sessions and sessions and sessions before we finally got to this point where he admitted to me that so much of why he was in that job was the job his father has. And his father had really drilled into him his entire life. Anyone that doesn't have this job is a loser. Like, if you have any other job but this one, you don't have value, you're a loser. So we got to that point. We got to that bedrock that was clearly a challenge. And I said, then really the next step has to be, you have to go talk to your father. I'm not your father. I can't change this for you. You have to go talk to him and confirm or deny that he really feels that way, because you're not going to be able to break through that barrier of unhappiness unless you're willing to change your jobs. And he was unwilling. He couldn't do it. That's a great transition point for why we're not therapists. There might be something there that he needs to work on that is outside of us. But if he was unwilling to make that change, we hit a wall. And he's still left with a lot of great, things to do and things to work on. And he told me at the end later, I think it's going to be a long journey of several years and we still got a lot of practical skills out. But that's a really good example of a roadblock that somebody has to be willing to climb over themselves, and I can't climb over. I cannot be the person that goes into that and fixes that. That is a fundamental relationship in your life that I can't touch. So, it was great that we were able to talk about it, but that's an example of something you have to care about more than we do. Right. So what's our next? Here we go. Oh, we're at Q&A. So
Questions, Q&A.
We love it. And I've seen, I apologize because the way we have the screen set up, I see the chat box lighting up, but I have not seen what's in the chat. So I know Jill's been monitoring chat, ready to bring these up. So in order to keep kind of a reins on this and keep it from getting too chaotic, if you've got questions, comments, and I'm so glad I've seen a bunch go in the chat, throw them in there now. Jill's going to pull them out and read them off to us. We've got about 20 minutes here to do this Q&A. So I want to just remind everybody that if we get to the end of our time here and we have not hit every question, every comment, we would love to hear any of the overflow in our email inboxes or on our LinkedIn pages or on phone calls. So if we don't get to everything, fear not. We are not going to vanish into the ether. We are still going to be available for you. So let's start tackling some.
Awesome. All right. Oh, we got a lot of great questions. Okay, so this was just a comment from someone, from Tiffany, and sorry. Lots of loud noises outside today. All right, so it was just a really great comment, and I completely agree. It was solid, so I want to repeat it. Training, accountability, and support from a coach without risking personal relationships. This is profoundly poignant and necessary. And so I think she was also referring to the comment before, much like sponsors. It's the real nasty reality is being dealt with someone who understands and can help without the repercussions if the realities were shared with a friend or family. So I think that kind of that non-judgmental, oh, I'm not on. Hi, there, you can see my face.
And private space too. You know,
it's a safe space, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, my father is a really brilliant guy, but if he gives me some advice and I don't agree with it, I'm certainly not going to say so. So being able to have that accountability in a space where there's no other risk, where you know that no matter what you say to me, I'm still going to be there for you. Obviously, if you're hostile or do something like insult my hair, then we're not going to. But other than that, you can push back anything on our technique, and not that anybody would do that, but you can push back on technique all you want, and I'm never going to take it personally. I'm never going to take it as an insult. I'm never going to make those unkind assumptions, those uncharitable assumptions that somebody that isn't trained to have this conversation might have. I'm never going to equate you pushing back on advice with you pushing back on my value as a coach or anything like that. So it's a great space to have those conversations, to really be able to grind it out. And yeah, I think it's so valuable to have, and we love doing it.
Awesome. Thank you. Okay. For those who are not necessarily looking to change jobs, but are seeking more body confidence, can someone talk a little bit more about that process?
Jill, I think that's you.
I know.
Yeah, you want to jump in? That's not us. That's you, Jill. Go ahead.
I was like, I might be able to take that one. So just briefly, because I think I might actually make this coaching webinar something for health and wellness and body confidence in the future. So for anyone listening, definitely hang tight for that, because I think it's a little bit different of a process, just because there's a lot more vulnerability. There's a lot more honesty that needs to be established in that, because what my coaching does is we kind of peel back the layers. So a lot of what, the career coaching does is like, what do you want? What don't you want? What are your goals? And then peeling back the layers to help us uncover on how to get there. And a lot of, with more specifically body confidence, is a lot of that stuff tends to happen in the past, from our childhood. So it's a lot of easing into that, asking those challenging questions, but necessary questions, to really get to the root cause of what is creating those unhealthy, unwanted habits and behaviors, so we can address those, shift those, and then fill our lives with better, healthier habits and behaviors. But a lot of it, specifically with body confidence, it's just digging deep. It's lifting up the hood to see what's under there. What do we need to heal? What do we need to clear out so that we can build that confidence moving forward? So great question, Shanti.
I love that you got everyone here just getting some bonus content. I want to remind everybody, we've put on the last slide, we've got contact information for Brooke and myself, but let's make sure that we also put in the chat Jill's contact information, so that we can have that in there too.
Yeah, I can definitely, I'll post that in the chat towards the end so it doesn't get lost in these great questions. Okay, great. So next question. You mentioned you have, what, Brooke?
Sorry, no, go ahead.
Okay. So you mentioned you have to know what you want and you can help us get there. How about if you know what you do not want, but don't know exactly what you want? There is so much out there. How do you go about discovering that? And I love this question too.
I, it's such a good question that it almost calls out something that we didn't talk about, because you're not alone. I mean, I think this is probably 75% of people
So
have,
common.
yeah, have no idea, and they do know what they don't want. So I'll let Brooke talk about her process for, because there's probably some overlap, but also every coach is unique on this. But I find that if you know really solidly what you don't want, we can extract what you do. We can go in and find what you do out of what you don't. And here's you can all take this with you, by the way. This is something you don't need me for. You can use this technique for yourself. Um, I call it the no because method. I refuse to ever take no period from a client. So you're not allowed to do that. If I say, hey, I'm going to give you a job example, and you say, I don't like that. Nope, wrong. You're not allowed to give me that. You have to tell me why. You have to tell me, I don't like this because, or I would like this if, or I would take this if. There's got to be something there. Because if you can tell me why, if you can ignore the visceral reaction that says, I don't want to take this why, and be honest with me, and it's fine to say, I don't want to take this job because I don't think it's prestigious enough, or I don't want to take this job. I'm not going to judge you based on what your goals are. So you tell me why you don't like it. And if you're really honest with me about why you don't like it, we can take that as a pathway towards what you do want. So if you say, well, I've been an accountant for 15 years and I hate it, but that leaves a lot of jobs you could love, right? There's a lot of jobs that are not accountant. So we have to go start digging in. An example I've used before is veterinarian. Some people tell me, I hate my job as a veterinarian. And some people say, I hate my job as a veterinarian because I don't like animals, which I know Jill is like, chills are running up her spine at somebody even thinking that. But if I say, you don't like animals, but I love medicine, well, that kind of gives us a direction, right? But if you say, I love animals, I hate medicine, that gives us a different direction. So why you don't like what you don't like is important. So we have to get deeper than just I'm frustrated or I'm burnt out or I don't like what I do. This is where the challenge comes in, is I will drill and I will pick apart and I will push and I will really dig into those reasons why you don't like it down to the minute. You know, what is the worst part of your day? A really great one is when you have a big to-do list and you procrastinate. Have you ever done what we call productive procrastinating, where you do something really, you're like, I'm going to do laundry and clean the kitchen and do these really like productive things because you're procrastinating? Well, what do you do when you're procrastinating at work and you're doing that productive procrastinating? What do you pick to do? Let's go in that direction. So there are questions I will ask that can get us there, and questions I can give you to continue to do on your own. So the answer to that question kind of went meandering, but for me, it is that we are going to drill down on what you don't want and use it as directional information. Brooke, what do you want to add there? Because I know you've done a lot of this kind of thing because you were there, you were in that space.
I was there, and so many of my clients are there too. And I think there can be some insecurity that comes up of like, okay, but like I don't know what I want to do. And I am a firm believer that knowing what you don't want to do is just as important of knowing what you do want to do. You know, like it is information. We are gathering that. And so if you've been at your company, you know, for 5, 10, 15 years, and you're just like, I'm just miserable and I don't like it. Okay, like, well, what do you not like specifically? But also, what do you like? You know, in order to be at a company for 5, 10, 15 years, something has held you there for some reason. And so digging into that as well. For me at my old job, it was like, I love getting coffee with my coworkers, you know? So it showed like, okay, I like working with people who engage with me, you know, like I like building relationships like that. Like I would love to postpone all my work, all my consulting, all my analytics, all of that to go have coffee and like talk about what's going on in people's lives at that moment. And so even if it seems small, like that is still information and it still does tell you something. So I wouldn't run away from, I don't know, and I know what I don't want to do, but I don't know what I do want to do. Lean into that, and I would just say explore it.
That resonated with me because I had that job for a long time where I was so proud of what we did as a company and I felt it was so valuable and so noble, but I was miserable at my job and I felt guilty about it. because I felt like, how can I feel guilty when the work that I'm doing is so good and so impactful and is helping so many people? How can I hate it? But I was just really stressed and miserable and really didn't like my work. So I was able to unbundle that and say, maybe there's something else I can do that is also noble and helps people, but doesn't make me quite as miserable. And here I am.
Awesome. Thank you guys for sharing that. I think that's hugely important, because I think too, another thing is I've experienced it myself, but also too with clients, is that sometimes we think we see this finish line of where we know we should be, of, oh, I want to have this kind of job, or I want to feel confident in my body, whatever that end goal is. Sometimes not knowing these things of what we want or what we do want can kind of paralyze us from even taking a step forward. So understanding and knowing that, hey, we all kind of know what we don't want is a great start and a huge step in the direction of finding out what you truly do want. You just got to take those small actions and answer those, get really honest and answer those tough questions.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. What specific concrete things should one prepare for the first session? So this is specifically career, beyond a resume and an outline of what you want to work on with the coach.
I would even say skip the resume. It can be helpful background info, but I don't necessarily need it to get started. I think if people start with they try to start with their autobiography, right? And all that can be good information for me to have, but what I find is actually really helpful to start with as a concrete base for like where we can really dive in on your first session are questions that no one else is asking you. So what are the things that maybe the last time you had a meeting with a manager or boss, something like that, what did you have to bite your tongue on? If you can remember that, write that down and bring it in. That's a great question to start with. We also have, in almost all of our processes, I would say 99% of our processes, have an e-coaching component to them, where we have these really meticulously crafted modules with a lot of these very challenging questions built into them that often you will do before even starting with a session. And they're very thought-provoking and very challenging. And I've had clients tell me they cried while answering these. Even career clients tell me they've cried while answering these. I've had clients tell me that they were frustrated while answering them. I've had clients tell me that they had to walk away from their computer and come back. Some of these are really challenging, but clients that do those modules, they then come on to the session and there's no confusion. They're like, I know what I want to talk about. we answered this thing and it blew my mind, or something that no one had ever asked me before, and I need to unpack it. Like, I need to talk to you about it. So that's really number one, is if you want to be really prepared for a session, do those modules. Any coach is going to send you a few prior to your first session. You'd have them in your dashboard. Do them, answer them, get into them. And even if you hit roadblocks and you can't answer all of them, it's fine. Answer the ones, write down the ones that you had roadblocks on, bring that. I guarantee you, if we start from there, we're going to get a lot of really good work done in that first session.
Yeah. And just to piggyback a little bit, like, I love, if it was hard, like, okay, why was it hard? What was challenging about it? So like, even in just like digging in a little deeper. But I also just like, maybe it seems so basic, but like, what do you think is important for me to know about you? Because I think what you think is important tells me a lot of information. And like, I think also a good question that I like to ask is like, what do you wish like you were asked in your everyday life that you haven't been? Because I think sometimes like we want to share information, but like nobody's asking. So sometimes I think that's a good first session question.
Awesome. Thanks, you guys. All right. If you could give only one super important coaching tip, what would it be? Ooh. It's like asking what your favorite movie is. I don't think I could do that.
The Royal Tenenbaums.
What was that?
Never seen it.
The Royal Tenenbaums is my favorite movie.
Of course you have one, John.
I have hardline favorites on everything. I'm not one of those wishy-washy people. Guess what my favorite color is? So one coaching tip. All right. One coaching tip is, I want you to come to the table being prepared to answer yes if to every question. So if you come with that phrase, yes if, and say, that is my coaching tip, I'm going to come and answer yes if to everything, because you can make if be whatever you want. You can put 1,000 caveats on it. So let's say you hate seafood, right? You absolutely despise seafood. The normal answer, if I say, do you want to go get some seafood with me, would be no. Challenge yourself. Say yes if. So if you hate seafood, what would it be? All right, yes if it's at a restaurant that has a really great salad bar, so I can try something and sample it, but if I still don't like it, I have a really great option. Or if it's a steak and seafood place that I have, another option and I can sample things. Or if it is, cooked in a very unusual way I've never encountered, whatever. But yes if forces you into new ways of thinking. Because if you didn't force yourself to say yes if, you would have just said no. You don't like seafood. That's a reasonable answer. Forcing yourself to say yes if forces you into new outside the box ways of thinking, seeing things as possible that you might not have thought were possible before, not writing off other options. And it's fine if, when we're done at that restaurant, you walk away and you say, you know what? Having sat through that meal and tried it all, I still hate seafood. Great, but you still gained that experience, that knowledge. And guess what? Now you probably know more about why you hate seafood. You might know it was texture, it was taste, it was seasoning, it was whatever, but we know more, and that can be directional. That can tell us what restaurant we want to go to next week that is delicious. So there's my top coaching tip. Practice that phrase, yes if.
Okay, so go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna say I love that. John, when you first taught us that, I was like, oh, that is so simple and powerful.
Mm-hmm. Yes if, or no but, no, but I would try this.
Right.
I would say my tip is coming in just being honest and be willing to be challenged. And then when you're establishing goals, I would say challenge yourself in those as well. Don't put just really minor changes, but be really willing to make the change. And then if there is that hesitation, I would say dive in and explore that. Why am I hesitant? Why don't I want to try seafood? Did I have a really bad experience? Do I think I'm allergic? Oh, okay, that's fine. But is it just because 20 years ago I didn't like this bite of fish? So I would say just really challenge yourself in that.
There's so many good. I actually just scrolled through the chat real quick. There's so many good questions in the chat, but we're about 2 minutes from the end. So a couple things I wanted to just reiterate with everybody. Any questions we didn't get to, and there's such good ones in here, please send them to us. Email. We're on the screen now where you can see my email, Brooke's email. If you notice, there's kind of a pattern to these emails, so you can probably guess what Jill's email is. But just in case you can, she'll put it in the chat too. Please email us. We love answering these questions. Don't feel like you've got to necessarily sign up and be a client before we'll answer an email, or that you can't ask us a question on LinkedIn. We love to do these kind of things for the community.
Right.
Multiple times a month, we do these free webinars. We try to put a lot of content out there. The blog is free. So for questions like, are there exercises like this you can do? Yeah, absolutely. Go to the blogs, read these things, do these activities. But because we also do have really great coaching services, I want to give you our little pitch commercial here at the end that we do on these webinars. If you want to jump in and try out coaching for yourself, there is a link here at the bottom to book a free consultation with one of our relationship specialists. Our relationship specialists are absolutely phenomenal people who do a great job of playing matchmaker, and they'll talk you through what you're facing, whether it's body confidence, career, leadership, any of those things, and match you with a really great coach, match you with a Brooke, a Jill. You might get stuck with me, but probably Brooke and Jill. And just, getting those questions really answered and helping filter that through. The consultation is free. It's a great half-hour conversation. And if you get on one of those before the end of the day, you can take your first 2 months of coaching at 50% off if you decide to go with this. The consultation's free. There's no obligation to sign up just because you have that consultation. But if you use that link, get on there before the end of the day and book your talk with our relationship specialists, first 2 months, 50% off, huge, awesome deal. So thanks for sitting through what was secretly a commercial. But no, so I just wanted to put that out there for anybody. So for anybody that does have to, leave right now on the hour, I just want to put that out there that we are available. Questions, comments, feedback, we absolutely love it.
Awesome. Thanks, John. And Brett, specifically, I was gonna pull one of your questions, but I might just we can respond because it's a good one. It's kind of that difference between coaching and therapy, and I think that's a good topic that I wish we had more time for because I could talk to that all day. So, but thank you guys so much, and these were phenomenal questions, and also too. The link, I just posted it. It might get bogged down, but I put it in caps. Here's the link to book your consult. So make sure you click on that before we log out because that'll go away. But then we'll send it all in the follow-up. And you guys will have all of our emails. So just respond to our emails if you have any questions that you didn't get answered. Because we all know there's so much great content in these webinars, and sometimes we're just consuming, and it takes us time to process and really come up with those questions. So we're here for you to do that. Anything else?
You've been a fantastic group. Thanks so much for all the questions, all the feedback. And Brooke and Jill, you are both the best. I absolutely adore my co-hosts.
Thank you, guys. I really do appreciate your time, and I'm glad that we were able to help you understand what coaching is, maybe just a little bit more.
Awesome.